Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to my channel if you're new here. My name is Hayley, and today I'm going to share our second little girl's birth story. So for those of y'all who are new here, we have two little girls, Baker, who is 4, and Charlie, who is 2.5, and then another baby girl on the way, Indy. She is due in October. So the reason I'm sharing Charlie's birth story is because it was a little more like dramatic, I guess you could say, than Baker's was. Baker's was very just like go with the flow. I got my epidural at like 3 centimeters because I thought I was dying and I needed it. So it's not real like, not that it's not interesting, but it's just not as like dramatic as Charlie's. So I always like tell my husband, why weren't we doing YouTube then? Like, why wasn't I doing YouTube then? Because that would have been like the perfect birth vlog, because it was just like so dramatic. So anyways, like I said, Charlie is 2.5. So this feels like it just happened the other day, just because it was like kind of something you would see in the movies, how you would imagine your birth going, or I wouldn't say not how you don't want it to go, I don't know. But anyways, Charlie's due date was February the 13th of 2018. Yeah, 2018. So I went into labor with her February 11th at midnight. So how it started, I didn't really know I was in labor, just because it was completely different than the first time. Like when I had contractions with Baker the first time, these were nothing like that. I felt it all in my bottom. Like I kept feeling like I needed to go, not that I needed to go to the bathroom, but there was just a lot of pressure down there, like in my bottom, and it was coming on quick. And I was like, what in the world? Like I remember I couldn't fall asleep. David was already asleep, Baker was already asleep, and I remember I just couldn't get comfortable that night. I just was not feeling like myself. And then this started happening, and I texted my mom, and I was like, you know, telling her what was going on, and she was like, well, maybe you should call the hospital. So I called labor and delivery, and my mouth is like so dry here lately. So anyways, I called labor and delivery, and she's like, yeah, you should probably come in. So I woke my husband up, and we live like, I don't know, probably 45 minutes from the hospital. So I woke my husband up, and I was like, okay, you know, I told him what was going on. I said, they want me to come in. I think this might be it. So then I called my mom, and I told her what they said, and she comes over, and she lives like 5 minutes from me. So by the time my mom gets here, because she got here so she could stay with Baker. So by the time she gets here, like my contractions have like really picked up. I mean, like hardcore. Like I remember I could talk through them before she got here, or like when she got here, like I could talk to her. And then I remember like we were getting our stuff together, and my mom and my husband were talking, and I was like, okay, that's enough. Like, shh, we have to go. Like, it's time to go. So, I mean, they were like picking up fast. So we're on our way to the hospital, and thank God it was in the middle of the night, because on the way to the hospital, it's like freaking lights everywhere. Like stop and go traffic. It's usually like during the day, it's usually terrible. So it's like right in the middle of like town to get to the hospital. So we like went through, like it was all like green lights. Like I remember one time there was a red light, and we stopped, and I thought I was going to die. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is terrible. Like my contractions, I never timed my contractions, just because at that point I knew like it was coming. Like why time my contractions? I felt like I didn't even have time to time them. So I just remember breathing through all of it, and then we get to the hospital, and I told my husband, I was like, you're gonna have to drop me off at the front door. Like I cannot walk. Like drop me off at the front door and then come in. So I walk into labor and delivery, and they're like, I'm like, you know, as I'm walking there, I have to stop, and I'm like, because I'm having a contraction, and the nurse is like, ma'am, are you okay? And I'm just like, don't talk to me. Just wait just a minute, okay? So I get up there, and they're like, want me to fill out this paperwork. I'm like, what? I'm already registered and stuff. Why do you need any more information from me? Like, just take me. So I fill out this paperwork for them, and then they're like, okay, well, we're gonna send you to the back, and we'll just see if you're in labor. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I know I'm in labor, okay? So I get back there, and they hand me my gown, and they're like, you need to put this gown on. And then by that time, David comes in, and David's freaking out because he doesn't do well with that kind of stuff. He does not. Like, I don't even think he said a word. So I put this dang gown on, and I'm laying in the bed, and this isn't even like a labor and delivery room. This is just like a room to see if you're even in labor. So I'm laying there, and then I feel like tons and tons of pressure. And y'all, like I said, like, they didn't even have me hooked up then. Like, I just laid there. Like, I just put my gown on. I laid there. The nurse hasn't even come back in yet. And so I felt all this pressure, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I think she's coming. And then my water breaks, and I was like, I looked at my husband, I go, oh my gosh, I think my water just broke. And he like was white, like completely white. Like, he was like, I have to sit down. I think I'm gonna pass out. And I was like, you don't even see anything. Like, my water just broke. What are you talking about? So finally a nurse, like, that was the weirdest feeling ever. Like, it was like I felt her like pushing, and then like it was like crazy. Thank God we made it to the hospital when it broke, because my husband would have flipped if it would have broken the car. So finally the nurse comes in, and I'm like, my water just broke. Like, my bed was soaked. And they're like, well, let me get these little test strips and see. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Like, you have to have test strips to see if my water broke? Look at the bed. It's everywhere. So they test it, and they're like, yeah, your water broke. So then they check me, and I think I'm at like, I want to say I was at like a 4. So they're like, yeah, you're in labor. Let's go ahead and get you back to the room. So it took them forever to get me back to that room. And the whole time I'm like, I need an epidural. Like, give me the epidural. I want the epidural. Because once my water broke, y'all, that's when it was like intense. Like, back-to-back contractions. Like, oh my gosh. I remember hanging onto the bed and just praying and just like, oh, please just hurry up and give me my epidural. Well, my nurse was so sweet, and she was like, honey, when we get you back to that room, I'm gonna give you a little margarita, and we're gonna make you feel better. And I didn't really know what she was talking about, because I was just like, at that point, I was just like, just get me back to the freaking room and give me my epidural. Like, that's, I thought she was talking about the epidural. So we get back to the room finally, and they're like, well, before we give you your epidural, we have to get some blood from you. And I still don't know why they needed to get that blood from me, but they needed to get blood from me in order to give me my epidural. I don't know why. I don't know how all that stuff works, but it was the worst pain I've ever felt in my entire life, which is funny because now I'm gonna have a home birth, and I will not have that option. I mean, I'm just gonna have to get through it. Like, I didn't cry, not one time, as when I was having my contractions. I didn't want David to touch me. I didn't want him to talk to me. I didn't want the nurses to touch me. Don't talk to me. Don't do anything. Let me sit here, let me breathe, and pray. And that's what I did, is I would breathe and I would pray. And my contractions got to where there was no break. And at one point, I thought she was coming out. Like, I told my husband, I was like, go get the nurse. Like, run, hurry up. She's coming. I feel her. She's right there. And that nurse came in there, and she was like, oh, honey, you're probably not going to be able to have your epidural. You probably won't get that epidural. You're going to have this baby natural. And I was like, I was kind of mad that she told me that, because I was like, why would you tell me that when I'm in this much pain? And just the thought of pushing the baby out is what freaked me out more than anything. Like, it freaked me out. And I was just like, I was so scared. So anyways, they kept checking me, and that was when she checked me. It was when I was like, I think she's there. She checked me. She's like, you're at a 9. And and they had already called the anesthesiologist to come give me my epidural. So it was like not long after that anesthesiologist came in, and you know, of course they tell you to bend over, don't move, and I'm like, how do you expect me not to move when I'm having these crazy contractions? Like, come on now. So I get my epidural and it works like that, and I'm just like all smiles, and I'm like, great, like, I'm so happy. And then I remember them coming in, like so many nurses coming in, because like Charlie's heart rate had just like dropped, and they were all in there. They were giving me oxygen, telling me to turn all different kinds of ways. And you know, the same thing happened with Baker too. After I got my epidural, the same exact thing happened, which is why I'm not going that route this time, because it just freaked me out. So you know, these nurses are sitting in there and they're all quiet, and they're like staring at the monitor, and I'm just like, okay, is my baby okay? Like, what is going on? So finally, like, it comes back up and I'm good. And then they, you know, are still checking me and stuff, and for, I don't know what it was, but something about Charley couldn't get her head through a certain way. Something was going on to where the nurse was like, I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to have her like vaginally. And I'm like, I don't want to have a C-section, like no way. And so then she like gives me, I think it was like this, I don't know if it was this ball or something, I don't remember what it was exactly, or like this pad thing, like this wedge thing, I don't remember. But she made me like lay on my side and put this in between my legs, and just do all these crazy positions to try and get Charley to come down and come through. So finally she did, and so I got my epidural at like 3:30, and I didn't have her until like 6, which is really weird to me, because like, how can I go from 9 centimeters and it slowed down that much, and then I didn't have her like till like 3 hours later. So many reasons why I'm having a home birth this time around, because it was just a lot on me. Like, it was very stressful. I've kind of Googled a little about that, and I don't really like what it said, but yeah, I don't know. So anyways, oh, back to what that lady was gonna give me, the margarita. I don't remember, it was like something through my IV, and I was just like, no. Like, I remember David texted my mom about it, and she was like, no, I wouldn't do that. Like, it says it could do stuff to your baby. So I didn't get that margarita. Like, I still waited to get my epidural. But anyways, so yeah, after I, you know, did all the crazy positions and stuff, then it was time to push. And it was a little harder to push with Charley. Like, it took me a little bit longer. I mean, not that long. Like, I see people push for hours. It was nothing like that. I want to say it was probably like 10 pushes or something, and she was out. But yeah, after I had her, it was just like, it went by so fast, and I couldn't believe that it actually happened. And it was just amazing to be able to experience those contractions, because like, now I know what to expect, since I'm gonna have a home birth, and I'm not gonna be able to have my epidural like that, you know. Like, usually when you get to the hospital, you're like, ooh, that hurts, I need my epidural. Now it's, you know, I'm gonna have to experience all that. So anyways, yeah, we had sister, we call her sister, and she was 7 pounds 4 ounces, and I don't remember how long she was. That's terrible that I don't remember that. I have it wrote down, but yeah, after we had her, she was perfectly healthy. She was just like, had this head full of hair. So much hair, we couldn't believe it, because our first didn't have that much hair. She was a little darker, like her complexion was a little darker than what Baker's was. Total opposite of Baker. But yeah, just to have her there was just amazing. And yeah, it's just crazy how every birth is different. Like I said, the first one was so easy. Charley was a little more dramatic, and I'm sure this one's gonna be pretty dang dramatic, this next birth. But yeah, y'all, that is my birth story with Charley. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you are new here, so you can watch my home birth vlog, because that is something I'm like so excited about. I'm sure it's gonna be a lot on my husband too. I always joke with him, and I'm like, the title of my birth video is probably gonna be husband passes out, because you were such a little like wuss when it comes to stuff like this. So yeah, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe, because I cannot wait to share that. But thank y'all so much for watching this video. This is something that we talk about this birth story all the time, just because it really was like pretty intense, and I wish I could have filmed it. We had actually talked about filming it just for us, and then at that time I was like, don't you get that camera out, like don't you get anything near me, I'm in so much pain. But yeah, I don't know, it was so crazy, y'all. But thank you so much for watching this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you're new here, and I will see y'all in my next one. Bye, y'all.